the system.
Thank you. I forgot to do that.
Yes, good idea. So notifications for everything in the system are going to be improved over time. Right now, we aren't sending a specific notification that a result has been submitted, but that is definitely something we have on the backlog and we'll address soon. The first place to go to look for that, though, we feel the best place to look for that is going to be in the annual report.
Okay. I'm going to answer just a couple more of these, and then I'll try to see if we can get to them in the chat, because I want to make sure that we have time to get to the Q&A for the annual reports. But Diane, to answer your question, yes, if there's a domain change, I'm assuming you mean that the structure of the email address itself might have switched. That could be the situation where the emails don't match, and there might have to be some steps taken to remedy that so they can access NRS. So I'm going to stop there just for now. And then we're going to get into the annual report a little bit, but I still see the questions, and we're also going to have time for Q&A. So as we move on to the next slide, you can type here, but I'm also going to ask if people want to raise their hand. That way we can directly try to get to you. And if we don't get all of them, we'll take note of the questions as well. Let me advance to the next slide. And I don't know, Aaron, who was going to do these slides, if it was you or Ronnie or someone else. So I'll be quiet for now.
Yeah, that's absolutely. If you'll stop sharing, and then Ronnie, let us know if you're able to share. I think Ronnie does a great job running this through. We'll just let her do that.
Sure. So hi, everybody. I'm the UX designer, if you haven't heard of me before, but I'm going to be walking through. Can everybody see my screen? Can everybody see the annual report builder?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I have two screens and I'm just making sure I'm sharing the right one. Excellent. So this is the annual report builder. You'll be able to use this system in a couple of short weeks to be able to submit your annual reports for the year. You get to this page, this home page. From the homepage with all of the tiles, there will be an annual report tile that you can click on that will get you to this page here. What will happen is you won't, as you get into the system for the first time, you will not see any previous annual reports here because you haven't entered any just yet. But in the future, as you enter in annual reports, you will be able to view them here from this screen here and print off copies if needed. But to just take you through the process really quick, so I want to stick with my time, you'll be able to hit Create New, which will open up a new annual report for whatever fiscal year you are currently on creating it for. You'll be able to see who is contributing. So if there are multiple organizations in one state contributing to an annual report, you'll be able to see who that is, and then who are the directors are and who will be approving it, basically. This table of contents here will follow you throughout the process. And the idea is this system was built as a wizard, basically, or remember the wizards back, the install wizards back from like the early 90s, early 2000s. That's kind of how this operates. So you were able to come into the system at any point in time. Everything will be saved. You can come in and out and work on it as needed. But we're going to go and start the process here. So what will happen first is you'll see this executive summary page, which will have a couple of different boxes. Everybody will have this overview box, and it'll give you some information on what you put there. And then there will be text boxes associated with each critical issue that your state has. So here I've got, 4 or whatever, but if your state has like 5 or 6 critical issues, those will appear here, and you'll be able to make some comments on those. The big thing I do want to point out here is we have implemented auto saving for the annual report builder. We're working on getting it into the rest of NRS, but for right now it's in the annual report builder. So as you're typing in to these boxes, you'll see the saving down here at the bottom, letting you know that it is being saved. And then this saved here, which will tell you, hey, it's saved and you're good. And just in case there's a hiccup or something in the system, every time that you go to a next section or you click on this table of contents, it'll save it again as just in case, making sure we got all your info, because we know that people are going to spend probably a decent amount of time in some of these text boxes working on it. Want to make sure that hard work does not go to waste. So we've got this table of contents box here. Now this is a prototype, and I could not make this work in the prototype because this is basically just a fancy photo. But this table of contents will actually follow you down the page as you're working. So some of these pages are probably going to get pretty long. So as you scroll down the page, it'll sit in this corner with you right here. So at any point in time, you can click on to the next page wherever you need to go. I'm going to go just quickly through merit scientific review process probably looks really similar to stuff that you've done in the past. Every single one of these text boxes has auto saving on it. So, but you may not see the little card here. Stakeholder input stuff and the fun things. So we have 3 pages, like kind of higher level pages here for research projects, extension programs, and then other projects / programs. I'll get to what other projects and programs means here in a second. All of these pages look very similar. They're structured in that it has all projects or programs that are active during the fiscal year that you are making the annual report for. Each of these, all these projects and programs will be sorted by the critical issue that your state has in which they are assigned to. You'll be able to see how many projects exist here. And then you can see down the page the number of results that are associated with each one of those projects. You can click on this to open up to see whatever the result is and what results are there. Then you have the ability to highlight. So whatever, if there is a result that you are really proud of, that you think really shows off the good work that your state or your organization is doing, you have the ability to highlight this here and it will show up on the review page later as a way to say, hey, we're putting the spotlight on this. This is excellent work. Take that back again. Then you also have this card here I have as a tester. So you can see that when you click, you have 0 results here. This is what it would look like if it didn't. You can add a result from this page here and just kind of work through that. Or if you see a 0 result, you can go to whoever the project director is and say, hey, you should add results to your projects. For a second here, we're going to pretend that every single one of these projects has results associated with them. And when you click this view projects with 0 results, all projects that have 0 results will show up on the next page. Ignore this one that has 0. Like I said, fancy pictures, had to do stuff with it. But if you don't have any projects that are missing results, then this is what this page will look like. Otherwise, you will see projects on this page that have 0 results. We added this in as a really quick way to kind of filter down to see what was missing, what was needed. Clicking view all projects brings that back. And the search bar works where you can search by organization, project director, title, all of that kind of good stuff. And we'll filter that page. Next section, extension programs. It looks remarkably similar and it works exactly the same way. Now, the other projects and programs page, this is the fun one. So this is the page where it's this kind of a collection of projects that they don't totally fit into other things, but maybe they do, maybe they don't. So that means projects or programs without a critical issue will show up here. So if there are any active, they'll show on this page. Multi-state projects will show up here as well, just kind of separated out. They will show up in other places as well because they are research projects, but just taking a note of just like we are putting the highlight on them so they're easier to find. And then integrated projects and programs will show up here as well. All of these can be, if they have a result, they can be highlighted. And so I'm not showing that on multiple pages because it's the same thing. As you notice, this table of contents here actually changes based off of what page you're on so that it kind of extends down into showing you what these critical issues are. I know some states have hundreds of projects. So that's why this is great that this table of contents follows you down the page, because as you're continually scrolling, you can click on a critical issue and it'll jump you down the page to wherever that critical issue is. And the table of contents will be here so you can jump back if needed. For kind of quick and easy access between the pages and kind of navigating around with some of these longer ones. But I'm running close to the end of my time, so I'll jump to the end. So this is what the review report section looks like. So at the end, once you're looking at it, trying to figure out is everything good? Do I have all the stuff that I need? You'll be able to look here, and this will show out as a full list of all of the text that you have written so far. And this is basically what it looks like to the NIFA people who are looking at this, so you can review it in the same way that they will be reviewing it. So you'll have all of the information that you put here for executive summary, merit scientific review, stakeholder input, all those kinds of things. And then this is where you see your highlighted results by project or program. And so being able to see these projects and seeing the results of just hey, this was the thing that was really awesome that we wanted to showcase, you can view that here. And all of those will be here as well. So that's effectively it. So we've got the directors here, and you can, let's say I'm a director, let's say I am James Kirk, I can sign the report and say, okay, I'm good with this. I know that I'm not the only one that needs to sign this, so other people are going to need to sign it too, but I'm good with it so that it shows that I have signed it and I'm good to go. And then if there's whoever the last person is, that person will have their thing sent up to NIFA. But that is effectively the annual report. I know I kind of blew through that really quickly. I think we'll probably have more information coming out as the system is finished and released, but that's what I've got.
Thank you, Ronnie. I know we went through that relatively quickly. We are providing part of the deck that we're going to provide today. We'll have individual screenshots of much of the annual report so you can study it and review it. I think that we wanted to highlight here are the workflow items in terms of the process. So we went through that directors will still sign off as they have in the past. And then also we wanted to show you one more time the ability to toggle between the full list of results that have been submitted and a list of projects where results have not been submitted. So I just wanted to highlight that because there's a number of comments out there regarding this. So this annual report view is the best way to understand which projects have submitted an annual report, a result, and those who have not.
Real quick, Aaron, I realized there was a comment that I realized I actually did miss something. One of the things I forgot to point out is at the end, when you highlight a result, I totally forgot about this, sorry about that. You highlight a result, it shows up on this page here. You have an option to provide an impact statement here. So this is where you're not going to be editing the original content of the result, but this is where you get to explain in kind of more layman's terms why it's important, why it made that impact. I know we had a lot of discussions previously around how we could potentially do some of this stuff because we didn't want to change the original result that was written by the academic, but we also know that sometimes those project directors, those academics don't really know how to write things super well or write them in layman's terms. And so I know that there's a lot of work that goes into making sure that that's visible and understood. But so this is what we decided to go with for this year. One of the big things I'm going to be asking a bunch of you after this we get through this season of understanding this is how did that work and how did that go? So definitely something that we're still checking up on with all of this stuff, but did forget to mention that.
Hey, Ronnie, I've had my hand up for a while and I wanted to ask, I'm kind of confused because it sounds like you're saying that in our annual report, all the results are being submitted in our annual report. And I thought in our discussions, we talked about how we would select the results that we wanted to submit for our annual report, like we have in the past, and where we don't submit everybody's, but we highlight, I think we have like 30 or I don't know, 35 projects that we decided to highlight, meaning we submitted that as our annual report, not every single one of them. But it sounds like you're saying that the highlight only means that we're highlighting it and everything's going in the report.
I'm going to actually hand this one over to Aaron and Alexis as this is a policy question.
Okay.
Right. So Lynn, think about it this way. We are giving everybody who has business reviewing annual reports the convenience of seeing all the projects that were funded under this money and be able to browse through and see the results that are there. So just in the same fashion that NPLs can go in and browse all the progress reports in report, this is the same thing, only it's structured according to the plan of work and the critical issues.
Okay, I'm still confused. So NIFA, our annual report consists of all of the results submitted in a year. So will you be able to?
You don't have to submit everything you've done, right? You just have to submit results for each project. So you don't have to have every project in the system.
Well, that's what they told Extension was they didn't have to have every project in the system, but research does have to have every project in the system. And that's why we were highlighting. There aren't missing projects. Every single project we have is in the system.
Right. Yes. So in the appendix, you'll be able to see. So in the builder, you'll be able to see every project. And
I understood that, you know,
right.
that we'll be able to see that. But I thought then if we push things into the annual report by highlighting them. That's how we discussed it in the working group.
So the results that are not highlighted, those are considered equivalent to progress reports. So those results also need to be submitted to NIFA. So this is the way to do that.
I see. So it's just the ones with no results that don't get pulled in.
Right. So if you don't have results this year, we actually have the ability to say no significant results that year. That makes sure that you know that someone has contemplated that and responded appropriately. So especially if you're, asking project directors to go in and enter results, they have a way to respond, and you all can decide whether that response is appropriate. I think what everybody probably is going to be looking for is someone who didn't give any response whatsoever. So the annual report will give you that view, right, initially, and you can decide whether, there's something substantive to chase down and to say, yes, but I need your result because we got to get this report done and I want to highlight what you're doing. Or if this year they don't have something major, so you just click the box if you'd like and move on. We know eventually that's an exercise where you are going to need to chase people down. So we're not going to prevent you from submitting the annual report if some of that chasing down exercise hasn't been completed yet. And really, ultimately, if those were really significant accomplishments that you needed to report, you're probably focusing a lot of attention getting them written up. So it's probably other people who have been working on their project for a while. There's just not a lot to report this year, and it's just getting that exercise done. So then if you think about it, then the old versions that the plan of work used to present give you the option to show everything, right? They would print everything. So we're allowing that view in the system if you want it, but we also have condensed it, if you notice, so that it really does look at the highlighted results as the core of what you're consuming. But we're giving both views, if you will. And it gives NIFA's reviewers the opportunity to see your entire body of work, a single section. And that's sort of the point there. In terms of submitting over, we're also automating that process. So you could submit every single result in by clicking a link, but we're allowing you to do that in bulk by just.
I'm really confused. It sounds like I'm sorry, I just don't understand. What link?
So if you're submitting a result, we make sure that the organization has the ability to review that result, make sure,
okay.
Right? And before you would share that with NIFA, you would want to make sure you have the opportunity to review it, right?
Right.
And so that's just there. So you don't have to necessarily click through every single one of them, but you will probably be looking and reviewing it as you go through the annual report. So we give you the convenience when you submit the annual report, you say, hey, these are good for now. We'll move them along in the process. They're there for reference if someone were to read it. And for the highlighted results, you're going to be spending time looking at the quality of that, providing an impact statement potentially, and making sure NIFA sees those front and center.
It isn't what we've asked the faculty to do is provide an impact statement with those 4 questions.
Yes. So we're saying is that if there's additional data you want to provide on top of that, you have an additional section for those highlighted results to add additional context to perhaps take something that's very technical and make it a little bit more plain language. So those are good options there. There's also opportunity to do some of that synthesis work or some higher level discussion of your programs broadly on the executive summary page, where each critical issue has its own section where you can talk about things a little bit more broadly, not necessarily at an individual project level. In addition, since we're in a transition year, we feel like that's the appropriate place to talk about projects that we're wrapping up in report, where a final report was submitted. We don't have those results streaming directly in to the annual report right now, but you could bring some of those highlights right into that section as well.
Into
the section on the executive summary. Each critical issue has a section where you can talk about the critical issues. We recommend if there's highlights from your final reports that are this year being submitted in report, you bring those to bear on that section as well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, generally it is the final year that they're going to have a significant.
Right, and rest assured too, we're also creating plans of how we can in the future bring that data a little bit more together, especially this transition year, and grow our ability to report against everything that was in all systems. So we'll be looking at that. It's obviously still stored in report, but as we start looking at ways we would do analysis on those things, we will still have the data. It'll still be around.
Hey, Erin, Rachel's got her hand up. I think her arm's probably tired and the chat has a lot of questions. So I don't know if you want to just move straight on through.
Let's do that for sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure the slides for now.
So thank you. I just want to clarify, at many institutions, the people that handle the annual reports are what we call results reports, because we require it from every faculty member. If they don't have results, we talk about anticipated results or impacts, so that everybody has to do it every year. We're not giving them the option not to. But in order to see whether or not they've done it, you need to have the annual report builder, and we do not have the same people at Penn State doing that. It's a different group of people that do it. So having that functionality only in the annual report builder doesn't help our people that handle the day-to-day AES project stuff. The second thing is if we can't see if they've done the results until the annual report builder is released, you told us these results reports are due April 1st. When is the report builder going to be released so we can see whether people have complied or not? Right now we're going in project by project by project to list. And the last point is the annual report builder, we were told, will be released in a couple of weeks. That was I have quotes, sorry, you can't see, quotes around a couple of weeks, but this report is still due May 1st. So we're not going to get the annual report builder until mid-April, and we have 2 weeks to do a report that encompasses everything we've done. Am I missing something?
So I think the report was supposed to be due May 2nd. The report builder will be out early April. So I think that there's definitely some flexibility in terms of, on May 2nd, no one's going to come pounding down your door. And we want to hear from you when it's released on how it's going to get it in there. So, I don't know if that helps, but it's really not going to be mid-April. It'll be early April. And then it's the May 2nd, but you've got, the review period where then all the NIFA NPLs are going to be reviewing the information as well. So when it's released, let us know how it's going. Let us know if you're hitting hiccups. I mean, we're going to be listening. We're going to be paying attention and watching. I'm sure we'll have results once it's results. Go ahead. Sorry.
And results reports are still due April 1st. So we won't be able to use the report builder to see if we don't have people having results done.
So Erin, let's talk a little bit about what it's going to be like when the annual report builder comes out and people have a lot of questions around how they're going to be able to view which projects have results and which ones don't. So if they go into the annual report builder and they start looking at some of that, right, taking inventory of what's there and what's not, can we talk a little bit about what they'll be able to do? Can they then go in and still edit results? Can they still go in if they need to edit a critical issue? Can we hit on a few of those to see if it helps?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, we are not, you're able to create a result at any time. We're not restricting that. It also means that you're in control of the information in that, just like you would with any project that is in the system today. you'll have the same features and functions. So you do need to move the result out of a draft state and signal that that result is ready to go. But if you put that into what we call organizational review, the author and the organizational administrator has the ability to go grab that back, make edits, and resubmit it. Now, once it's submitted to organizational review, the purpose of those results for the plan of work in particular is to make sure that there is good reporting for the entire portfolio so that the annual report can be assembled and move forward. During that process, there's going to be some back and forth, and you'll state contributors who assemble those reports will have the functions and ability to manage those results, to create new ones, to ask other people to create new ones and submit it in. The goal is that when you're ready to have sign off on that annual report, that you feel that the results and the projects are in the best place they can be at that time. And because we know that there are going to be adjustments that have to happen, people who are needing more time to get those results in, the system does not prevent you from adding them, does not prevent you from moving them forward. The only thing they have to be, those results do have to be moved into organizational review in order to be submitted onward to NIFA. And you will have, if we need to bring it up, we can, you will again have the ability to see all the projects that have those results in org review. And then you'll have a toggle to go back and look at all the projects that are missing a result, haven't submitted it yet. You'll then be able to quickly click on the title of that result, of that project, go over into the project description and see the full set of circumstances there. You'll be able to see any results that are in draft. You'll be able to create new ones, etc., or request action by the author who would put that in. So hopefully that starts talking about, the overall process. But again, the goal of the results is to submit all of the information necessary to assemble the annual report and move that along in the process. Now, I know that that's concentrated largely in the plan of work funding streams, but that's the bulk of the projects out there. For non-plan of work, we can have a separate discussion, but the idea is that you would just submit those results over to NIFA, which is also possible right there on the results process. Okay, so I know we have a lot of items in the chat. Alexis, I'll defer to you. We could, there's a few other pointers that we wanted to bring up as far as the annual report process goes. So we could do that, or we could dive more into the chat.
I'm thinking maybe we'll, since folks will have a copy of this presentation, let's stick with Q&A for the moment. And I see Susan has her hand up.
Great.
Okay, I have a person who has submitted results and they've gone to org review. And I think they're getting ready to submit them to NIFA. This same project needs to be extended. Once it's submitted to NIFA, can I go into a project, edit project to change the end date to extend the project? Or do I have to wait till we get an approval back on these submitted to NIFA results?
You're able to edit. You're able to edit.
Okay.
Your projects. We don't restrict that.
Okay, so it's not going to have to be approved before I can edit. I'm not going to lose my results once I do the edit.
No, but we do want to point out there's a little bit of a freeze out there. So I would recommend, if you have to make an update to a project, get that done first, get it moved along in the process before you start your result. Now, if you've already started your result, that's okay.
Yeah.
Just know that if you get stuck in NIFA review for too long, you do have some difficulty. We don't allow you to move that forward. Now,
Right.
if that happens to you, just reach out to the NRS help desk, and we'll see if we can, move that project along in the process so you can get back to working on the results.
Okay, then I had another PI who, instead of adding his results, hit the edit his project button, then added his results. So he's got his original project, he's got a draft of it for somehow he saved it, and then he's got an org review where he submitted it for org review. So I went in and took his results and put them in the original approved project. But how do I get rid of the other two projects? The draft and the org review.
Right. So if a project has been created, an errant project has been created, the first and most important thing is keep that project in draft.
So
Okay.
take it out of org review, send it
Get it
back.
out of org review. You can return it. You can hit edit and just save a change. The other thing is that we ask that you update the title and just say to delete or archive, something like that, just so as an indicator for us. We are going to give everybody the ability to remove projects like this on your own. We're very close to it. We're developing the work right now. It won't be in time for the annual report process in all likelihood, but it's coming. But what we are going to do, it's a planned activity. We've done it in the past. We try to keep a list, especially if you submit that over to the NRS help desk. Additionally, you may have conversations with Lynn and now Alexis. If we have a record of it and we know that you've asked us to delete it, we will go into the system and manually remove it for you. So if you keep us up to date, we will do our best to update that. That can be an ongoing thing, and before long, you'll be able to do it yourself. The most important thing is to keep those in draft. And of course, NIFA staff is also aware that if they run into those projects for whatever reason, they will understand, because you've labeled them that way, that they'll soon be cleaned up and declutter any places they might see it. So we're aware of that and understand that. Results are a little different. Also, you can't remove results right now where someone maybe clicked the button too quickly or said, well, I started writing this one, then I just did a different one. We know you can't change that right now. You can't remove it, but we're very close to also giving you that. And that should also be coming out pretty soon. In the meantime, what I would do is if you have, just results that you're not wanting to include, just make sure they stay in draft as well. Putting a title up there that says to delete also would be helpful. And the system will ignore it or will soon give you the ability to remove it. We also wanted to note something too about projects without critical issues. And by the way, I do see some hands up, so I'll grab them in just a moment. We do know that there are projects that don't have critical issues. Just a quick note that we, of course, do have a section in the annual report to help us get through that process right now, because we have a lot of them out there. We're recommending that you don't make an update that to this year, but that will save us on some cost of reapprovals and those kinds of things. But you will be able to see them in your annual report builder. You'll be able to highlight those results. And then in time, as we get what we call conditional reapproval set up, that'd probably be the better time to make that update. As soon as we can get conditional reapprovals out there, that'll make it easier. You can make a change to the critical issue and then just update that project. And then the critical issue will come with it. We're just recommending that you don't take that action right now in the system. It probably would add a little bit of extra costs that we don't want to incur right now. But as soon as the conditional reapproval is there, it'll be easier for that to happen. So Susan, did I hit all of yours and then I'll move?
Yes, you got mine.
All right, great. Who is that? Go ahead.
Kind of tagging on to that critical issues question. We also have a lot of projects that integrated and multi-state aren't classified correctly. Are we supposed to leave those alone for this year and then the annual report will just kind of be a mess?
No, I understand what you're saying there. The integrated question was not previously posed. I'm sorry, the integrated question was previously posed. But we did not update the front end. So I guess it comes down to this. If you don't have examples of multi-state and integrated, and need to update those projects, go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
So over time, I think you would want to get that updated as well. Again, if they're undercounted and you want to raise it, go ahead and update those projects, but it's not required to be done this year.
Okay, we've got Lisa and we've got Joanne, and I'm not sure if Emily has another question, but Lisa, did you have a question?
Yeah, thank you very much. I was hoping maybe you could address when and how FTEs and financial reporting is going to take place.
So
Extension financial reporting?
Yes, and also FTEs effort reporting basically against all of these as well. I know in the past we've had to do that.
So for the extension financial reporting, right now on our website, it just says TBD, but then it says due April 1st. We don't have final guidance on the OGFM supplemental yet, which I think is forthcoming. So it would probably be similar to the process that was followed last year. I think any extension financial reporting will probably be likely tied to the OGFM supplemental. So obviously
That deadline be extended?
Yes, it's March 24th. So I don't know that it's reasonable to still say 4/1. I hope to have an update on that for you soon. I have to partner up with our Office of Grants and Financial Management on that because they're the ones who kind of manage that guidance. So we have been talking about it.
So the supplemental doesn't get submitted through this system?
Not yet.
Okay.
Right now, NFS doesn't have any financial data in it.
Okay, and we don't know for sure when it's due then. Is that what I'm hearing?
It won't be April 1st.
Okay. That's good. FTE is the same thing, effort reporting, any idea on that?
I do not, but I will see what I can find out for you.
Haven't done that for the last 2 years, right?
Okay, thank you.
Man?
there one more hand?
Yep, me, hi. I put this in the chat, but I'll just ask it because, so on the research side, we have a project, everybody has project W106, which is an administrative project to report on whereas and CCs and so forth in terms of in the Hatch multi-state. I'm just wondering what in the news in NRS we're supposed to do. Do we just leave the results blank for that? Like what guidance do you have on how to report on that administrative project, W106?
Jones, what do you guys do in report today?
So, we just, everybody does their kind of their own thing in terms of like, it's so we can basically spend money on Hatch multi-state projects, like whereas that aren't required to report in NRS. So they're all sort of lumped under this W106 project. And so, in the past, everybody's kind of done their own thing. I'd be curious what other institutions have been doing to report on W106 and what they're doing to report on it in NRS.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. I saw your message in the chat and I was going to try to research a little bit and see if I could get you an answer because I was not familiar with W106. So I didn't have an answer for that specific question yet.
Every region has a multi-state administrative project like this. So for the Northeast region, it's NE59.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, let me see if I can get some feedback on that from the folks who will be reviewing. And I can get that answer back out to the group.
And I guess what I was just trying to check assumptions there in terms of the progress reports that you would have to do in report. How would you submit those? What kind of language would you use?
We don't submit, in Georgia, we don't submit progress reports on this. They're just they're just a placeholder for administrative funds. It's not really a particular one project that you're working on. I don't know how other states handle it, but we didn't do progress reports on this. We did financial reporting on this, but not progress reports.
I see. Okay, so it's a line item in your financial.
I mean, I thought
And-
we were supposed to, we just sort of listed which sort of projects we had under that placeholder.
Penn State, we didn't report on the administrative project.
So that'd be great to know. If no one else is reporting, we can just leave the
Joanne,
results section.
California did it the same way as you. It sounds like the Western region might have been doing it the same way, and perhaps other regions do it differently.
Right, I think that was the Western region's instructions. So yeah, it would be great to have a single answer for all regions on how we should handle that. And if we can just leave the results section blank. Thanks, guys.
This is Lynn in Iowa, and we also have an administrative project for McIntyre Stennis funds spending.
Looks like Catherine, you have your hand up.
Yeah, and I have it in the chat too. I am Extension and my research counterpart, Emily, is on here too. And we've heard different things about this question that I have. We have a critical issue area in our POW called COVID-19 response or some such. And we've been, I think, Alexis, you told me on Monday that we don't need to report under that it's okay that many of our results and many different critical issues address COVID-19, and that we also can address it in our executive summary, but that we don't actually need to have any results under that, even though it's in our POW. But I just want to make sure, and I want to make sure that we are all hearing the same thing.
Right, so my understanding when I went and asked our program folks, because those are the folks that are going to be going in and reviewing your annual reports and the results that you're highlighting. So when I asked the question, the response was that, in your POW, you lay it out, but if you have to shift funds or resources around because of something like the pandemic or these emergency type things, you can talk about that in your executive summary. It didn't sound to me like you needed to have a critical issue or a specific project called out for it, but really just it's more about that language explaining what you had to do to shift that around to accommodate for those types of, emergency type situations.
Okay.
Like I said, I asked them because they'll be the ones who are reviewing your information. So I posed that question to the program side to get their feedback, because they'll be the ones who are giving you feedback on what they read in your report.
That sounds great to me. It's just, it almost might even be more of a technical question. Like, since we had it in our POW as a critical issue, is it going to be flagged as like an empty thing if there's nothing in it? If it only appears elsewhere.
I think I would just take that opportunity, to say, whatever verbiage you want to use. Are you saying that you would have it as a critical issue, but you wouldn't add any results to it? Is that what you mean?
Well, I don't think we can remove it as a critical issue at this point until 2023 or So.
Yeah, you're kind of stuck with the critical issues that were submitted back then, and it made sense to have it there. And your executive summary section for that critical issue, I'd say, is the place to address that.
Okay.
And I think when you actually see what's in your portfolio, you might realize something different. Like maybe there is a project that's out there that you didn't catch. And if there are none, then that's good. Then you would just say, hey, we don't have any projects tracking under this, but here are some other things that we're around it. I think that's a good way to address that. And then you will have the opportunity to retire that critical issue next cycle.
That sounds good. Yeah, I mean, we do have, I'd say, maybe half or almost everything has been affected by the pandemic, obviously, but then they would all be under that issue.
Sure, right.
I see Anne has, sorry, go ahead. Thanks, Catherine. I see Anne has her hand up. I think that'll be our last question. And then I'll just kind of wrap up with one final statement. I see all the questions in the chat. I will see what I can do to try to get responses out to some of those. Some of them are really specific, like if you're having a technical issue in the system, please don't hesitate to message nrs@usda.gov. Particularly, like I saw there were some questions around the add results button not being available, things like that. Give us an opportunity through the help desk to assist you with that. But the questions in the chat that are specific to annual report builder or functionality and things like that, I'm going to do my best to try to get responses to those that I wasn't able to answer. Anne, you want to go ahead?
Yes. Just real quick, a comment relative to the financial reporting and the FTEs. There's a couple of different opinions out there about how that's done. And I'm a proponent of doing it all in mass as opposed to on a project by project PI based basis, because we get better results if we do them centrally as opposed to individual PIs trying to make those reports. So that's just a comment I'd like to make. And also on the these reports that we're trying to do, the printouts, if they could have the department name on there and the PI information, mainly the department, that would be great.
And are you referring to like when you print out the result, the individual result?
That and on screen. Because the department is not out there. So we have to go look it up, which granted we can do that, but the information is available. It sure would be handy.
I see what you mean. Okay, yes. And just as a follow on, we are studying all of our displays for various different pieces of information. We'd like to do a fuller survey, but we're aware of some things. You're hopefully going to see a nice surprise coming up with the upcoming release of one of those data elements.
I like surprises.
Okay, well, we are wrapping up here. And yes, just to address some of the comments in the chat, Lynn is going to no longer be with NIFA here in the next few weeks or so. I think that she's communicated that with many of you. And so unfortunately, she's not on the call today. But I did want to just take the time, even though she's not here, this is recorded and I'm going to download the chat to just publicly acknowledge all of the hard work that she has done for this project. She has, put in countless hours and efforts to really, put in what you see today and then what we will continue to build on. And so if you don't mind, take the time to, yes, please put some kind words in the chat for her because I will share those with her. I wish she was here to hear from you all. But again, just wanted to acknowledge her hard work and her valuable contributions to NIFA. And I know that she's done an excellent job of forging relationships with all of you. So just really wanted to use the last few minutes for that. Thank you all for all of the questions. Very much appreciate how diligent you are in going in the system and paying attention and asking all these questions. It's helpful to me as I get familiar with NRS and also the processes that you all have at your institutions. So give me a little bit of time. Let me take a look at these to see what information I can get back to you, specifically those related to the annual report. And we look forward to talking with you at the next webinar, as well as in between, may see some of you at NIRA. I'm going to leave this open for a little bit so you can continue to comment for a few minutes, but thanks again for joining and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Alexis.
problem with this.